don't got no queens here in the United States, so I don't really know how that works. But that's pretty cool. She looks impressed. Hello and guten Abend, my Kardavox Academy family. That was for you, Lena, Mitch, and Andy. 3 patrons and friends we have in Germany. Mark here, and today we're doing something kind of funky. Today, we are reacting to Elizabeth Zharoff. I don't know if I pronounced that right. In a competition she was in back in 2012, I believe. This was the Queen Elizabeth competition in Brussels, and it's massive and tremendously competitive. Now, Elizabeth, for anybody who doesn't know, is the face of the Charismatic Voice, quite an accomplished opera singer, traveled the world, and she was really nice and kind enough to react to Kardashev. I'm the vocalist of Kardashev on her channel, and I said, "Whoa, that's really cool. I appreciate that." Now, technically, it was her husband Kirk with a really hilarious wig on. You should totally go check it out, but she had actually listened to the song and wrote up a bunch of notes, and there was a lot of really cool information in there, and it was a lot of fun. So I decided, hey, I will check out her stuff here on the channel as well. Not that she needs my help in any way. Now, a couple things. If you're new to the channel, what we do is we take the reaction format here, we break it down, we try to have as much fun as possible. We try to make it educational as well. Now, I am not a trained opera singer. Opera is not my game, so I'm not going to be necessarily teaching you how to do opera, but I'm very excited about this video because we are going to get a lot of cool conversations we can have and topics we can talk about resonance and how we can talk about mouth shape, posture, right? Making frequencies work for us rather than against us. So there's a lot we can talk about, but it's going to be a little less instructional and a lot more observational. Please feel free, if you enjoy the content, to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot. Helps with the algorithm. If you have fun, let us know in the comments below. And as always, we do have a Patreon. If you really enjoy the content, you want to help us pump it out a little bit more frequently, definitely feel free to check it out. We have a really great community we've built slowly over time, full of really cool people. So, with that being said, hopefully I didn't forget anything. This is Elizabeth Zharoff in MARTERN, ALLER, ARTEN, which means torture of all kinds. So this song, even though it may not sound it, is metal as... So, here we go. Let's check it out. All right, so I didn't think I was gonna really have a whole lot to contribute, just to be transparent, because this is not my training, but there's actually a lot of really cool stuff that we can talk about here. And I just want to say right now, if any of my metal people click away from this video because this might not be your genre, I love opera. I love the way it sounds. It's been kind of like something I fall back on every once in a while, just when I need something to sort of cleanse my metal palette, I'll listen to some opera. If you click away from this video, it is your loss, because there is some really cool stuff we can talk about. First of all, let's talk about how much resonance space we have. So if we think about opera, right? Opera did not evolve and develop at a time when we had microphones and amplifiers and preamps and PAs and all of this stuff. We didn't have it, right? So what did we have? We had concert halls, opera houses, which were really common, in a lot of cities, throughout Europe, and even Eastern Europe and things. Again, it's where my history might be a little hazy, but these places were built to carry sound very well. But at the end of the day, you had to use your system to really project. Now in metal, we project all the time, but how much of this, do we see in the, the tightness of the neck and the shoulders punching down? She just filled that opera house. I'm not sure how many people it holds. She just filled that entire opera house with her voice, and we didn't see any of that, right? So that's a little lesson here. Now, of course, our false chord and our fry screams are going to be different techniques, so we can't, apples to apples them. They're not exactly the same thing, but we can certainly take a lot of inspiration from this, right? So you don't see any tension in her neck. You don't see any, pressing in her chest. You don't see her like crushing in her sides or anything like that. She's opening up and she's letting the resonant space do the work for her. At the beginning, I thought she looked nervous because she kind of had like this like thing going on, but then she looked at the conductor, super smug, almost like smug in a way, and I'm like, no, she's not nervous at all. So that sometimes I know that some people, they'll kind of just sort of flex their tongue to warm it up. Maybe that's what that was. Or maybe she was just like, yeah, I got this. I'm not sure. Anyways, let's keep watching. We don't need to go back. But for my metal vocalists, I want you to look at her. I want you to look at her posture. I want you to look at the way that she is standing. I want you to look at her mouth and her throat, right? And think about how much power she's getting. She's singing over that orchestra. She's singing out across all those people. And this is a huge competition. This is incredibly competitive. So she can't fall behind, right? She has to be forward. So let's keep going. All right, so this is going to be a little bit speculative on my part because again, I'm not an opera singer, but I want to look at something cool. So as she carried that section of the song upward, as she moved up in pitch, look at how she like almost modulated the sound with her lips, right? We do a lot of that. We do a ton of that in metal, right? We've got like our, quintessential like Phil Bozeman guttural shape, right? And then we've got more of like these gutturals. We've got our highs, and we sort of, especially when we're doing like, tunnel throat stuff, we'll do a lot of like small movements. Travis Ryan, Cattle Decapitation, he's doing all sorts of this like stuff, right? And for us, we don't have to worry about accuracy quite as much because we just want it to sound dirty as heck. But here, you can see her really manipulating the acoustic properties of her voice with her lips. Check it out. Right here. Showing the teeth to get a little bit more brightness. Opening up to let that sound resonate. Very cool. Super sick. So I don't know if this is a good place to pause because I'm not familiar with this song in any way, but I think one thing that we can talk about to make this video extremely interesting. I mean, obviously it's interesting because the song is dope and her performance is really good. But oftentimes when we talk about the voice, we say, vocal folds make pitch. And if we want to get real technical, that's not true. Like if we want to get real technical, that's not true. Vocal folds vibrate the air around them, and the air moving is the pitch. That's what we hear, right? What we hear, I mean, if we want to talk about sound, we could be here for a long time. But it's really, really cool. Your vocal folds are just moving. The air then moves with, in that same pattern, right? And then that movement gets projected out and forward. And so a lot of what we're seeing here when she's moving up and she's hitting like these really staccato notes is her creating a space where the acoustic property of that sound, that resonant air movement is going to be 100% maximized, because your voice is this huge stack of frequencies, right? It's this huge stack of frequencies. And you know, the goal, especially with this, where you need to be like surgically accurate on your pitch, you can't be flat, you can't be sharp. Like, this is a huge competition. What we're doing is we're creating a space, we're creating a shape everywhere from the front of the lips down through the main oral cavity into the pharyngeal space, opening up back here, you know, relaxing the tongue and opening up. So the specific frequency that we want, which represents the pitch that we want, has room to develop, right? Our job seems really easy, metal vocalists, doesn't it? Where it's just like, yo, does your guttural sound deep and gurgly? Yes, check mark. Let's keep going. Yeah. Nice. That's a really good shot. I'm really having fun with this because in metal music videos, there's so much camera movement, microphone in front of the face. It's hard to really see and hear what's going on. So sometimes, I'll be real, when you're sitting in my seat, you have to guess. You got to guess, you know, because we deal with, especially in deathcore, right? How many vocal layers are there? Yes. You know, is their breath support good? I'm going to assume so because it sounds great, but they're bouncing up and down and going crazy, right? And so sometimes things can get lost in translation. But here we got one set of, there's not a vocal track, but we've got one set of vocals. It's just her voice. Nothing, you know, nothing in front of her face, no microphone, right? Because we don't want to mute anything. You can't, as far as I know, like if you're using a microphone in opera, you're doing it wrong, unless you're like fusing it with another genre. But check out her core right here. So she, you know, not only kind of like has this increase, this sort of crescendo in volume, but she's moving through these pitches and she's not having to smash anything out. And even though if we're doing false chord or fry vocals, we may feel like it's something entirely different, the breath mechanism is going to be very similar. It's not going to be the same, but I want you to watch her move through these pitches here. Watch the ribs, the core muscles. Right here. Nothing smashing. Yeah, see her pulling. Oh, I paused it perfectly. See her pulling. Yo, this is what we do for gutturals. What the heck? This is what we do for gutturals. She's not doing the tongue curl, right? But this very big frontal ooh sound. Now, I'm not attempting to sound operatic here, y'all, so don't at me. But this big frontal ooh. We need that. Look at her mouth doesn't look very open, right? Because it's not. She's got her lips forward together, using that orbicularis oris to squeeze the lips together in that space. But her jaw is actually dropped, you know, pretty far, right? And that's what takes our gutturals from like an to an and so this posture is the same thing we do for gutturals, right? Which is really, really cool. Also, you know, if Elizabeth, if you watch this, or if any other opera people, opera singers, watch this. I totally had this thought. So the song is in German, right? And I would imagine that I don't know any German, right? So I can't come up with a word on the top of my head, but I know that like ich is a word. That consonant, that's a weird consonant. If you are, you know, primarily an English speaker, which Elizabeth is, and then you move to that, I can only imagine that singing opera through that consonant would be difficult. Just a thought. Anyways, guttural opera. Here we go. That's a really good mouth posture. That's a really good embouchure for us to talk about. See how she's almost like smiling through it? That can be a really great way for us to carry our high notes through, right? Just kind of an observation there. You know, having an open mouth for singing isn't always just here, right? There are all sorts of different postures and positions we can use. And that with the like lips kind of pulled to the side, right? Open like this. That can be a good way for us to kind of hold and maintain our high notes, which she is certainly hitting here. Something to think about. I actually want to listen to that one more time because at the beginning I talked about opening up space in the back, right? So like sort of relaxing our tongue and thinking about like almost here, opening up. Now we do that a little bit for metal vocals as well. It can especially help our lows sound a little bit lower. I'm not at all saying that it's the same thing as this because it is certainly not. But you can kind of hear like if I do that now again, as a metal guy, if I do that, you know, with my speaking voice, hey, it might sound like I'm pressing my tongue down. Not really, just kind of relaxing it and moving it sort of flat. Now, Elizabeth, if you watch this and you're doing something different, feel free to call me out. But I'm also not pulling my larynx down, right? I'm allowing acoustic properties to work for me first before I have to do anything wacky and wild. You can actually hear her change the shape of the back of her tongue as she moves through this sound here, which is really, really cool, right? So it's going to start nice and sort of open and rounded in the back, getting that like oh sound. And then it sort of balances a little bit more forward and she's going to move her tongue up. Again, this is just my observation. Here. Kind of neat. I love those little aspirate onsets we had there. Oftentimes, you know, when I think of opera, I think of everything having like this. And again, I could be totally wrong, but I think of everything being like surgically. But there was a little bit of like a on her onsets there, and it was actually kind of cool. That like sort of delayed vocal fold closure. It sounds awesome. I don't know if you're supposed to do that. I think you should because it sounds great. Anyways, just like a kind of a weird observation. I just kind of heard in the moment, but that was really cool. That's a lot of coordination. Was her tongue resting on her bottom lip there? Right there. an interesting posture. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. I know she's kind of in the middle of the spot, but this profile view is really, really good. So I may be a little out of my element here. I may be stepping out of bounds here, but this is something really cool that I wanted to point out. Now we have and it's something that I think she's doing really, really well, and I think all of us, especially my metal people, could learn from. So we have this bone in our kind of our tongue anchors to it, our larynx anchors to it. It's the only floating bone in the human body, meaning it doesn't insert directly into another bone. And it's called the hyoid bone. And oftentimes when you see people trying to sing low, which she is not doing this, which is good. Oftentimes when you see people trying to sing low, you'll see them puffing out. They're getting this sort of bullfrog effect, right? Getting this sort of like, and you can actually manually move it. Like if I put my fingers on it and show you, you can push that hyoid bone out, and it can create this like fake low voice. Ooh, I have to punch my microphone once every video, either the microphone or the whatever. I can't spacing on this word. Anyway, we'll get people trying to get this fake. We get that a lot with lows, right? And then people will be like, man, the back of my tongue is just so sore. Like this spot right here is so sore when I do my metal vocals. Why? Well, it's because we're relying on this hyoid bone primarily. I'm not saying in metal vocals we will never utilize it, but it's just a little bit. Now she's getting a lot of this big round resonance, not from having to do that, right? You can actually see that even with this crazy, and we're going to go back a little bit, even with this crazy amount of power, all this resonance that's going on, filling up this entire opera house, theater hall, whatever. There's no excess of laryngeal engagement. There's no over exaggeration of the base of the tongue or the hyoid bone, because it's all about the space, and a lot of the space we create is in the pharyngeal area, right? We've got our superior pharyngeal muscle, which is a lot of like the squeezing involved. We've got the soft palate, which we all know about the soft palate. That sucker goes crazy even when we talk. When we say ah, it raises. So go ahead, just kind of check out her jaw and her throat while she sings in this sort of profile here. Right there, when she's dropping from that headspace to more of that lower open sound, she's not having to puff anything out, right? She's dropping the jaw, clearly. She's moving the lips, but there's no like bullfrog going on, which is awesome. Yo, she just totally matched exactly what the strings were doing. Perfectly. Where did vocal runs start? I don't know, but it might have been opera. Those T's, those are very, very strong. One thing that I just want to point out, which makes this really impressive, in addition to the way that it sounds, is now if you've ever seen and you can just Google it, right? If you've ever seen like the laryngeal muscles, they're nuts. It almost looks like a woven basket. There's just muscles inserting into muscles and wrapping over each other and stuff. We got two main sets of muscles that we use to control our singing voices, right? We've got our thyroarytenoid muscle that controls kind of like our lower, warmer, chesty voice sounds, and we've got our cricothyroid muscles, which I bet, just watch, I got those backwards. No, I don't think I did. We got our cricothyroid muscles, and those control more of our headspace voice. So throughout the song, she's been dipping, boom, 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 head, chest, everything in between, right? And so the thyroarytenoids are the ones that I believe run directly along the vocal folds, and the cricothyroids are slightly separate from that. So manipulating those two sets of muscles back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Opera's not the only genre that does it, but she's doing it a lot, and it's wild. That's like, and these muscles are so thin, so that's a crazy amount of coordination. She knows she killed it. She's like, yeah. So fun fact, so I reached out to Elizabeth's husband before this, and I was like, yo, is there anything I need to know? Like, are there any like details? And that is Queen Fabiola, right? She's since passed away, but of Belgium. And she was at the competition, and apparently she like walked up and congratulated Elizabeth, which is cool. I mean, I guess if you're impressing a queen of anything, you're doing something right. I don't know, right? No, don't got no queens here in the United States, so I don't really know how that works, but that's pretty cool. She looks impressed. Cool. All right, so we could probably go ahead and stop it there. So even though this was very, very, very different from our normal metal fare, sometimes I like to bring extra stuff in to just kind of expand our view of voice and music, because, you know, there's so much to voice that's outside of just sounding like a monster or a demon. And even if you're never going to clean sing in your life, which I totally respect, by the way, some people, they just want to scream, and that's awesome. I think that's totally valid. You can still learn a lot by learning some basic details of other, you know, types of singing. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. Remember, regardless of how you sing, what your style is, resonance and open space is tremendously important, and we don't have to really struggle for our notes. Now, this was very athletic. You know, it's not like you just stand still and get this, but you can see there was no strain, right? Tremendous amount of training here. So, you know, don't be discouraged if you still struggle a little bit. Also, don't compare your, in the words of Justin from Tala, he says this, and I like it very much. Don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Go check out her channel, Elizabeth's channel. She runs the Charismatic Voice. Link in the description below. And check out the Patreon if you want. If you would like to do so, we would be happy to have you. With that, as always, many thanks, much love. I'm out.